Mark Consuelos and Kelly Ripa, a couple that has captivated hearts for decades, have always been more than just familiar faces on morning television. They've been the picture of love, laughter, and loyalty. But behind the charming smiles and easy banter, something deeper has been unfolding. Something that's left fans both touched and heartbroken. Because even in the most beautiful love stories, life sometimes writes chapters no one saw coming. Their story begins long before the fame, before the headlines, and long before the spotlight ever turned toward them. In the 1990s, Kelly was one of America's favorite faces on All My Children. Bright, witty, and effortlessly magnetic, she was already capturing hearts across the country. And then one day on set, she met Mark, the young, handsome actor who would change her life forever. Their chemistry was instant. What started as an on-screen romance soon blossomed into something much deeper behind the scenes. Away from the cameras, away from the lights, two people quietly fell in love. It wasn't a scripted moment or a Hollywood stunt, it was real. In 1996, they eloped to Las Vegas. No grand ceremony, no press, just two hearts choosing each other for life. And for nearly 3 decades, they've kept that promise. Together, they raised 3 children, built a home full of laughter, and managed to stay deeply in love in a world where that kind of devotion is rare. But as the years went on, fame came with its cost. The spotlight is bright and relentless. Every expression gets analyzed, every word dissected, and every imperfect moment magnified. Kelly once admitted that even though she adored her work, the constant pressure sometimes followed her home. It wasn't always glamorous, it wasn't always easy. Mark, too, carried the weight of public scrutiny, always seen as Kelly's other half, always compared, always watched. Balancing demanding careers, raising children, and managing life under that kind of attention took its toll. Yet somehow, they always found a way back to laughter. They laughed through exhaustion. They laughed through long flights and early mornings. They laughed through the chaos of raising kids while the world watched. But beneath the humor, Kelly later revealed were moments of fear, stress, and uncertainty. And that's when everything began to change. During a recent emotional moment, Kelly broke her silence. In front of an audience that had seen her laugh and smile countless times, she couldn't hold back tears. With trembling hands and a voice that faltered between words, she shared something raw, something she'd kept inside for too long. She spoke about a difficult chapter in her marriage, a period of emotional pain that had left her questioning everything she knew. It wasn't about fame or fortune or even her career. It was about love, family, and the terrifying idea of having to say goodbye. Kelly's honesty silenced the room. For years, people had admired her for her wit and charm, but now, what moved them most was her vulnerability. She spoke of nights filled with uncertainty, of feeling fragile when the world expected her to be unshakable. Even the strongest love, she said softly, can be tested by life's hardest storms. But through every tear, Mark was there. Kelly described him not just as her husband, but as her anchor, the one who held her steady when she felt like falling apart. She said, "There were nights when I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I could be strong enough." And that's when Mark gave her the words that would change everything. He looked at her and said, "You don't have to be strong right now. I'll be strong for both of us." Those simple words became the foundation that carried them through. It's easy to see Mark and Kelly as a perfect couple, the laughter, the success, the charm. But behind all of it is something far more powerful. A love built on mutual trust, quiet sacrifices, and unconditional support. Kelly admitted that the fear of losing that love haunted her. The idea of saying goodbye, she confessed, felt unbearable. But instead of letting fear divide them, they chose to face it together, hand in hand, as they always have. And through that darkness came a renewed light. Kelly began to see the beauty in the smallest things, the morning coffee they shared, the way Mark's hand fit perfectly in hers, the warmth of a quiet dinner at home after a long day. She said, "When you're reminded how fragile life is, you start to realize that every moment, even the ordinary ones, are extraordinary." Her words hit home for so many. Fans who had grown up watching them saw, maybe for the first time, that their idols were just as human and just as vulnerable as anyone else. And in those moments of struggle, their 3 children became their greatest source of strength. Michael, the eldest, stepped up like a true protector. He was the calm in the chaos, the one who sat quietly with his mother in the early hours, offering strength without words. Kelly said she reminded him of his father, steady and grounded. Lola, their bright and quick-witted daughter, brought levity to the heaviness. Even when things seemed unbearable, she found a way to make her parents smile. Her humor wasn't denial, it was courage. She said she refused to let sadness take over. She reminded us that laughter is still allowed even in pain. And then there was Jochen, the youngest, full of heart and faith. Though far from home, he became a beacon of hope, calling every night to remind them that love doesn't fade with distance. His words were simple, but powerful. We're going to be okay. We've always been okay. Together, their children helped hold the family together, each in their own unique way. It was a reminder that family isn't just about shared blood, it's about shared courage. But even with all that love around her, Kelly faced moments of deep solitude. She remembered one night vividly, the night when everything seemed to crumble. Mark was away for work, the kids were gone, and for the first time in years, the house felt unbearably silent.
She sat alone in the dark, the fear of loss pressing heavily on her chest. It wasn't the fear of fame fading or public opinion changing. It was something far more personal, the thought of life shifting into something unfamiliar, something empty. I felt like I couldn't breathe, she recalled, like I was being swallowed by the quiet. And then she reached for her phone. She called Mark. Her voice was barely a whisper when she said, "I can't do this." Mark listened, really listened. And in that silence between them, something shifted. He didn't try to fix it. He didn't offer cliches. He simply said, "You don't need to do this alone. You've carried everyone for so long. Let me carry you now." That was the moment Kelly realized that real strength doesn't come from never falling apart. It comes from knowing who will catch you when you do. Since then, their love has taken on a new form, gentler, deeper, and even more real than before. Fans have noticed the change too. Their usual playfulness on air now carries a quiet tenderness. Their jokes feel even warmer. Their glances, the ones they share when they think no one's watching, feel like unspoken reminders of everything they've been through. And then came the revelation that left everyone speechless. Their emotional announcement about taking a step back, a break that no one expected. It wasn't a breakup, not an ending, but a pause, a moment to breathe, to heal, and to rediscover each other beyond the cameras and lights. It was raw. It was emotional. It was real. Fans flooded social media with messages of love and support. "Please don't go," some wrote. Others simply thanked them for showing what true partnership looks like. Because even in stepping away, they were teaching everyone something powerful, that love isn't about perfection, it's about presence. They reminded the world that behind every dazzling success, behind every television smile, there's a human story, one of faith, struggle, and unbreakable connection. Mark and Kelly have built more than a career together. They've built a legacy, a story of laughter and resilience, of marriage that endures fame, time, and trials. A story that continues to remind millions that even in the hardest seasons, love can still be your greatest strength. And while this chapter may be filled with uncertainty, one thing remains crystal clear. They still have each other. Through every heartbreak, every headline, and every new beginning. Because love, in its truest form, isn't always perfect. It's patient. It's flawed. It's human. And that's exactly what makes their story so unforgettable. As their fans continue to send prayers and love, one sentiment echoes louder than the rest. Hope. Hope that this is not a farewell, but rather the beginning of another chapter in a love story that's far from over. So wherever their journey leads, whether on camera or away from it, one thing is certain. Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos have already shown the world the kind of love that doesn't fade under pressure. A love that laughs, cries, rebuilds, and stays. A love that reminds us all that sometimes the most powerful thing two people can say to each other is not goodbye, but we'll get through this together.